The last breath of Earth. The sky above Earth burned in shades of crimson and ash. The once blue horizon had been swallowed by nuclear fire, leaving behind a world choking on its own demise. Cities that had stood for centuries were now skeletal remains, their towers crumbling into dust. Rivers ran black with poison. The air tasted of death. And in the heart of this dying world, humanity made its final choice. Commander Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of the Ark, a massive colony ship that had taken 50 years to build. She stared down at the planet she was about to abandon. Her reflection in the glass was hollow, tired. Her uniform hung loose on her frame. She hadn't eaten in days. None of them had. Food was rationed for the voyage ahead, not for the ghosts left behind. "Commander, we're ready for departure," a voice crackled through her earpiece. It was Lieutenant J. Kim, her second in command. His voice was steady, but she could hear the tremor beneath it. He was terrified. They all were. "Copy that," Elena replied, her voice mechanical. "Begin launch sequence." Behind her, the Ark hummed to life. Its engines roared like the heartbeat of a dying god. The ship shuddered, metal groaning under the weight of its own existence. Inside its belly were 10,000 souls. 10,000 survivors. 10,000 people who had won the lottery of life while billions burned below. Elena turned away from the window. She couldn't watch anymore. She had already said her goodbyes. Her parents were gone. Her brother, her friends, her home, all of it turned to ash. She was a ghost piloting a ship full of ghosts, fleeing into the void. The Ark lifted slowly, tearing itself free from Earth's gravity. The planet shrank beneath them, a dying ember in the darkness. Elena's hands trembled as she gripped the railing. She wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. But she did neither. She was a commander. She had to be strong. "Course set for Proxima Centauri," Kim reported. 4.2 light-years. ETA, 200 years in cryosleep. 200 years. 2 centuries of silence. 200 years of hoping that when they woke, they would find a world that could forgive them for abandoning the old one. Elena nodded. "Prepare the crew for cryosleep. I'll address the ship before we go under." She walked through the narrow corridors of the Ark, her boots echoing in the silence. The ship was massive, but it felt claustrophobic. Every wall pressed in on her. Every breath felt stolen. She passed families huddled together, children clinging to parents, lovers holding hands. They all looked at her with the same desperate hope. They believed she could save them. She wasn't sure she believed it herself. Elena reached the command deck and activated the ship-wide comm. Her voice echoed through every corridor, every chamber, every cramped room where humanity clung to its last thread of survival. "This is Commander Vasquez," she began, her voice steady. "In a few hours, we will enter cryosleep. When we wake, Earth will be a memory. A story we tell our children. A warning we carry into the stars." She paused, swallowing the lump in her throat. "We failed Earth. We burned it, poisoned it, and left it to rot. But we will not fail again. We will reach Proxima Centauri. We will build a new home. And we will remember what we lost. We owe that much to the billions we left behind." Her hand hovered over the comm switch. She wanted to say more. She wanted to promise them hope, survival, a future. But words felt empty. Promises felt like lies. "Sleep well," she whispered. "And dream of tomorrow." She cut the transmission. The cryosleep chambers opened like coffins. One by one, the crew climbed inside. Elena watched them go, their faces pale and drawn. She would be the last to sleep. Protocol demanded it. The captain goes down with the ship, or in this case, the captain sleeps last. Kim approached her, his face grim. "Commander, there's something you need to see." Elena frowned. What is it? He handed her a tablet. On the screen was a transmission, an old radio signal, barely coherent through the static. It was from Earth. From the surface. We thought all communications were dead, Kim said quietly. But this came through 10 minutes ago. Elena played the message. The voice was broken, distorted, but unmistakably human. Anyone out there, please, we're still here, don't leave us. The message cut off. Elena's blood ran cold. Someone was still alive down there. Someone was calling for help. And they were already too far to turn back. Echoes in the void. Elena stared at the tablet, the distorted voice replaying in her mind like a curse. The words clawed at her chest, ripping open wounds she thought had scarred over. Don't leave us. But they had. They were already gone. Commander. Kim's voice pulled her back. His eyes searched hers, looking for orders, for answers, for anything that resembled certainty. What do we do? Elena's jaw tightened. Her fingers curled around the edge of the tablet until her knuckles turned white. Nothing, she said, her voice hollow. We do nothing. Kim blinked. Commander. We're too far, Lieutenant. Her words came out sharper than she intended. Even if we turned back now, it would take days to re-enter orbit. Days we don't have. Our fuel is calculated to the decimal. Our life support is running on borrowed time. If we turn back, we doom everyone on this ship. But those people are already dead. Elena's voice cracked. She hated herself for saying it. Hated the truth of it. If they survived this long, they won't survive another week. Earth is gone, Kim. We can't save ghosts. Kim stared at her, his face unreadable. Then he nodded slowly, turned, and walked away without another word. Elena watched him go, her chest hollow. She wanted to call him back. She wanted to apologize. But what good would that do? She deleted the message. The guilt would stay. The cryosleep chambers hummed softly as the crew began their long sleep. One by one, the lights dimmed. One by one, the heartbeats slowed. Elena walked through the rows of frozen faces, her breath misting in the cold air. They looked peaceful. Innocent. Like children dreaming of better worlds. She envied them. Her own chamber waited at the end of the row, its glass door open like a mouth. She stood before it, hesitating. Once she stepped inside, there would be no going back. 200 years would pass in the blink of an eye. She would wake in a future she couldn't imagine, on a world she'd never seen. If they made it at all. Elena climbed into the chamber, the cold metal biting through her uniform. She lay back, her hands folded over her chest. The glass door hissed shut, sealing her in. The air grew thin. Her vision blurred. The last thing she saw before the darkness took her was the stars beyond the window, cold, distant, and uncaring. And somewhere in that darkness, Earth continued to burn. 200 years later. Elena's eyes snapped open. Her lungs screamed for air. Her body convulsed, muscles seizing after centuries of stillness. She gasped, choking on the recycled oxygen flooding her chamber. The glass door hissed open, and she tumbled forward onto the cold floor, coughing violently. Commander Vasquez, your vitals are stable, a synthetic voice announced. It was Aria, the ship's AI. Calm. Emotionless. Unchanging. Welcome back. Elena dragged herself to her feet, her legs trembling. Her body felt wrong, too light, too fragile. 2 centuries of sleep had withered her muscles to threads. She gripped the wall for support, her vision swimming. Status report, she croaked, her voice raw. We have arrived at Proxima Centauri, Aria replied. Orbital insertion successful. Proxima Centauri B is within range. Preliminary scans indicate atmosphere composition compatible with human life. Temperature stable. Water detected. Elena's heart surged. Wake the crew. Affirmative. Around her, the other chambers began to open. One by one, the crew woke, gasping and shaking like newborns. Elena watched them, her chest tight. They had made it. Against all odds, they had survived. But as she staggered toward the observation deck, something felt wrong. The viewport showed Proxima Centauri b, a green and blue jewel hanging in the void. It was beautiful. Perfect. Everything Earth should have been. But it wasn't empty. Elena's breath caught. On the surface of the planet, glowing in the darkness, were lights. Cities. Structures. Civilizations. Arya, she whispered, her voice shaking. Run a deep scan. Who's down there? The AI paused. For the first time in 200 years, it hesitated. Unknown, Arya said slowly. But Commander, the architecture matches human design. Elena's blood turned to ice. That's impossible, she breathed. We were the first. We were the only ones who escaped. Kim stumbled onto the deck, still weak from cryosleep. He saw the planet. He saw the lights. His face went pale. Commander, he whispered. How? Elena stared at the glowing cities below, her mind racing. Humanity had been dying when they left. There were no other colony ships. No other survivors. So who had built those cities? And how had they gotten here first? A transmission crackled through the ship's speakers. It was faint, broken, but unmistakably human. Ark, this is New Terra Colony, we've been waiting for you, welcome home. Elena's hands trembled. The voice on the other end wasn't just human. It was hers. The face in the mirror. Elena's world tilted. The voice echoing through the Ark's speakers was her own, identical in every inflection, every pause, every breath. It was as if she were listening to a recording of herself, except she had never spoken those words. This is Commander Elena Vasquez of the Ark, she said slowly, forcing her voice to remain steady. Identify yourself. How do you know this frequency? A pause. Static hissed through the speakers like the whisper of ghosts. Then the voice returned, her voice, calm and almost amused. Because I am you, Commander. Or rather, I was you. 200 years ago. Kim's eyes widened. Around the command deck, the skeleton crew who had been revived stared at the speakers in stunned silence. Elena felt the blood drain from her face. That's impossible, she whispered. Is it? The voice replied. Think, Commander. When Earth was dying, there wasn't just one plan. There was never just one Arkansas. They couldn't tell you. They couldn't tell anyone. Panic would have destroyed everything. Elena's mind raced. She remembered the final days on Earth, the chaos, the riots, the lottery system that determined who lived and who burned. She remembered the secrecy surrounding the Ark's construction, the classified meetings, the government officials who spoke in riddles. How many ships? She demanded. 7, the voice answered. 7 Arks. 7 identical vessels. Each carrying 10,000 souls. Each commanded by someone deemed suitable for the burden. 7. 7 versions of her. 7 ships full of humanity's last hope, scattered across the void. We launched 6 months before you did, the voice continued. The first Arkansas Alpha. We had experimental FTL drives, prototypes. Dangerous. Unstable. But functional. We arrived at Proxima Centauri 198 years ago. We've been building ever since. Elena gripped the console, her legs threatening to give out. If you had FTL, why didn't you save more people? Why didn't you go back for them? The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. Because we couldn't, the voice said quietly. The drives burned out on arrival. One use only. We were never meant to go back, Commander. None of us were. Earth was a tomb. We were the pallbearers. Elena closed her eyes, bile rising in her throat. All those people. All those billions left to die. And there had been a faster way out. But only for the chosen few. You're lying, she said, though she knew it wasn't true. She could hear the weight in the other Elena's voice, the same guilt she carried. I wish I was, the voice replied. But you'll see soon enough. We're sending coordinates for a landing site. Bring your people down. We have food, shelter, medicine. Everything you need to start over. Why? Elena demanded. Why help us? If you've been here for 2 centuries, you've built your own society. You don't need us. Another pause. When the voice returned, it was softer. Sadder. Because I've spent 200 years wondering if we made the right choice. If I made the right choice. And when your ship appeared on our sensors last week, I realized. I don't want to carry this burden alone anymore. The transmission cut off. Elena stood frozen, her mind reeling. Around her, the crew looked to her for guidance, for orders, for something that made sense. But she had nothing to give them. Commander, Kim said carefully. What do we do? Elena stared at the planet below, the glowing cities, the green continents, the false promise of paradise. Every instinct screamed at her to run. To turn the ship around and find another world, another chance, another lie to tell herself. But where would they go? Their fuel was nearly depleted. Their supplies were dwindling. Their people were exhausted, broken, desperate for solid ground beneath their feet. They had no choice. Prepare for atmospheric entry, she said, her voice hollow. We're going down. The Ark descended through Proxima Centauri B's atmosphere like a falling star. The hull groaned and shuddered, metal screaming against the alien sky. Elena gripped the armrests of her command chair, her knuckles white. Through the viewport, she watched the cities grow larger, sprawling networks of glass and steel that looked disturbingly familiar. They were human cities. Earth cities. Rebuilt from memory and regret. The landing site was a massive platform on the outskirts of the largest settlement, a place the colonists had named New Geneva. As the Ark touched down, Elena saw them. Thousands of people lining the platform, watching in silence. Waiting. And at the front of the crowd stood a woman in a commander's uniform. Elena's breath caught. It was like looking into a mirror, but the reflection was wrong. The woman was older. Her hair, once dark brown, was streaked with silver. Lines carved deep into her face, marking decades of weight and worry. But her eyes were the same. Haunted. Guilty. Tired. The other Elena. The boarding ramp lowered with a hiss. Elena descended slowly, her crew following behind. Her boots hit solid ground for the first time in 2 centuries. The air was warm, breathable, alive. It smelled like earth, like grass and rain and hope. The older Elena stepped forward. They stood face to face, 2 women separated by time and choice. Welcome home, Commander, the older Elena said, her voice rough with age. Elena stared at her, at herself. At the ghost of her future. This isn't home, she said quietly. Home is dead. The older Elena's expression cracked. For a moment, the mask slipped, and Elena saw the raw pain beneath. I know, the older woman whispered. But maybe we can build something better. She extended her hand. Elena stared at it. At the scars. At the trembling fingers. At the weight of 200 years pressing down on both of them. And slowly, she reached out and took it. Behind them, the crowd erupted in cheers. But Elena barely heard them. Because as their hands clasped, she felt it, the cold, creeping certainty that something was wrong. The older Elena's grip was too tight. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. And in the distance, beyond the cheering crowd, Elena saw them. Armed guards. Watchtowers. Walls topped with razor wire. This wasn't a colony. It was a prison,